Rory McIlroy became the fourth player to win back-to-back Masters Sunday by holding off world number one Scottie Scheffler for his sixth major title. This is the Golf Report on the Central Indiana Sports Report. I'm your host, Greg Mengelton. Momentarily, I'll be joined by former Tipton and Ball State golf star and current golf pro Griffin Hare and Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader sports editor Michelle Garmon with their reactions to the 2026 Masters. Before we get to that, I want to tell you about my daily podcast, Greg and His Friends Talk Sports. Every weekday afternoon, my friends and I are talking about whatever Central Indiana sports fans are talking about, whether it's the Pacers, Fever, Colts, IU, Purdue, IndyCar, local colleges, national sports, or high school sports. And of course, on Monday, Griffin and Michelle will be the featured guest to talk some Masters. Four guys were tied in third at -10. Russell Henley, Cameron Young, Justin Rose, and Tyrell Hatton. Sam Burns, Colin Morikawa, Max Homa, and Xander Schauffele rounded out the top 10. The PGA is in Hilton Head this weekend at the RBC Heritage, and the next major is May 14th through 17th, the PGA Championship at Aronimink in Newton Square, Pennsylvania. Scottie Scheffler is the defending champion there. Welcome in now, Griffin and Michelle. And guys, in the end, it ended up being an historic day.
It was a great day. It kept you glued in front of your television till that final putt by Rory.
Yeah, it was a great day. Four different people had the lead. The twists and turns of the final round of the Masters never really disappoints. It seems to deliver almost every year. It was fantastic, and we watched history again today.
Guys, early Sunday, I was starting to count Rory McIlroy out of this, honestly. I thought he had a Saturday that I thought was going to kind of play with his head, and then early Sunday he lost the lead, and I thought, well, I don't think we're going to have to worry about Rory McIlroy at the top of the leaderboard. And he made a run there toward the end. I don't think a couple, 3 years ago he would have been capable of making. And he kind of tried to give it away early, but was really good down the stretch.
He was great down the stretch. I think winning last year and finally getting over the hump definitely helped him. You know, he had the really bad yesterday, just sloppy. And then he was 2 over through 6 today, and he found himself 3 back. At one point, he was 9 under, and I don't remember who was at 12 at that point, but I know he was 3 back, and I was thinking to myself, like, is he done? Is he about to blow a 6-shot lead on Saturday when he teed off? But he was resilient, man. He made some really good pressure shots in the end of the front 9, and then what won him the golf tournament was making a really solid par on 11. Which he made double yesterday, hit in the water. And then he took on that pin on 12, which not a lot of guys do, made birdie there. And for the first time all week, he hit it in the fairway on 13 and made birdie there. That's what won him the golf tournament. And after that, it kind of felt like it was in hand unless he did something crazy.
Yeah, he drove the ball much better today, with the exception of that on 18. But his driving on the par 5s were much better today.
Mm-hmm.
And don't you think, I really do think his familiarity, having won last year, but just his overall familiarity with the course after all those years, I think that was beneficial to him today and down the stretch.
Experience goes a long way in this golf tournament. I just finished up watching his post interview after the round with the media, and he said that he learned some from a practice round in 2009 with Tom Watson about where to look like for the wind on number 12. And he referred to him and his caddy were very patient today on 12 because the winds were swirling, and I think it was making it tough down for the second 9. A lot of guys were backing off shots, but he referred to a practice round in 2009. And then he ended up making birdie on that hole. So that kind of proves that having that experience and, experiencing some failures in the past, ultimately helped him get over the hump today.
Tell you what, Cameron Young, I know he did, because you're right, a lot of the golfers consider players the 5th major, but Cameron Young is going to win one of the 4 majors here within the next year or two.
Wow, I love that prediction. He obviously didn't play great today, but it's never easy sleeping on your first ever lead of a major. I don't care what anybody says. The Players is not a major. It's not the Masters. And he wasn't leading the Players. But I thought he hung in there. He made 9 pars on the back 9. He gave himself chances. I think he'll learn a lot from playing with Rory today. And he's a top 5 player in the world. I would not be shocked to see him win one this year.
I just think with what I liked about Cameron Young was he just never let his bad holes multiply. And if he got a good break, he took advantage of it. I know he could have had a couple birdies on the back 9, but he also could have had a couple of bogeys. But that's what I like about him. He is definitely one of the next hole type golfers, which those are the guys that win the big ones.
I also want to throw this out there. I never mentioned this. There's a lot of talk on social media right now about it. The wedge shot that Rory hit on number 15, it shows you that you have to be lucky. He 100% missed his number there, and that ball hit into the fringe, into the upslope, and 95% of the time that ball spins back in the water. When that ball stayed on the green, I go, it's his time. Like he's going to win. You could tell by his reaction, he was like, this thing might go in the water. I've never seen a wedge shot like that hit into the upslope and take a bounce and stay. I thought that was for sure in the water. And then it would have been really interesting because there were guys, Terrell Hatton, guys like Kim and Scheffler and even Burns, Russell Hill.
I was actually kind of pulling for him for a while because he's from the state of Georgia. I thought, how cool would that be if he made a Sunday run to a green jacket?
If that ball rolls back in the water, that brings 7-8 guys back in it.
It couldn't have been. It couldn't have been a 2-foot difference.
Oh, definitely within 2 feet. He, man, the golf gods were on his side for that shot, and sometimes that's all it takes in this game.
What does this do for Rory's legacy?
I saw a lot of things on social media. I'm sure it'll be a debate here and leading up to the next major. I think it's the PGA is the next major and then U.S. Open.
That's right. They moved the PGA, didn't they?
Yep, they did. The PGA is going to be in May this year, which honestly I wouldn't be surprised if he won another one. Early prediction here. He's got all the confidence going. But I think you can argue he's the best European golfer in the modern era. I think it's between him and Nick Faldo. They're tied with 6 majors now. The fact that it took Rory 10 years to win another major, and then once he did, he went back-to-back Masters. Only 4 players have ever done that. I certainly think you can argue he's maybe the best European ever.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I would have to go back and try to remember all the Europeans, but definitely in the modern era, I would not disagree with that at all.
For sure.
Ballesteros, maybe? Is that who you're up against?
Seve was up there. Yeah, he I don't remember exactly how many he won. I think he was around 6.
Yeah, Faldo, of course.
Faldo had 6.
I don't know how many majors did Padraig Harrington win?
3. I think he won 2 Opens and I think a PGA.
But I know he was in contention in a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. I think this puts Rory also in the conversation of probably top 10 best players ever. He hasn't only done it on the PGA Tour. As we know, he's a European and he plays on 2 different tours. And I think he's won over 20 times in Europe, and he's won, I think today was his 30th tour win. Like, he's won all over the world. He's a global icon, and not a lot of people can say that.
No, they can't. I really think, too, Roy has gotten better as he's gotten old. I think he has matured a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was when he first came on the scene, he was so young and had all the success and
no scar tissue.
That's right. Yeah, I kind of brought it up earlier, Michelle, that I don't think he does this 2-3 years ago, has a big lead, loses the lead, and then recovers to win. I didn't think that was in his makeup a couple of years ago, and now clearly is.
he's playing, very well. I will be interested to see the next, how the next two majors do go. I think we could be in for another couple fun ones. I don't know, with, between Roy and Scotty and Cameron Young, I think has got a battle in there. Justin Rose, and then some of these, younger guys. You feel like I kind of get the feeling that Sam Burns was another one that is. I mean, he played fabulous for the first three rounds, and then today things went downward for him. But if you're good, you're going to learn from the experience today. And it's just only should make you better for the next time you're in a major.
Mm-hmm. I think the next three majors could be super interesting this year. I think the biggest storyline going forward is, can Scheffler do it at the U.S. Open to complete the Grand Slam? Typically, when you have Grand Slam winners, it's separated by 15, 20 years. We could have it in back-to-back years with Rory last year at the Masters, and then Scotty. I guess Jordan Spieth, technically. I forgot about that one. Jordan could win the PGA.
He hasn't
won a major since 2017. But I golf's so good nowadays. There's so, like I said at the beginning of the week, there's a bunch of guys that can win majors. But this particular tournament, it just seems like there's always 5 or 6 guys that have the experience, know how to win, and ultimately they're just competitors.
Griffin, I was gonna ask you. Because I know you've played, and I thought that it did bother Scheffler that Lee had those 2 really bad holes. I think he tripled, and then he on a par 5 he took a 10, and he took a lot of time walking around finding his ball. And I think they said Scheffler was on the green for 20 minutes. What does that do to you as a golfer when you're on the green, get a chance for eagle or birdie putt? You have to wait over 20 minutes before you can actually attempt that putt.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I think what you're referring to is he was about 60 yards away for his wedge shot on 13, and they were in the back bushes looking for Hao Tong's ball. And I think they said in the coverage that he went up to the green multiple times just to look at kind of where he was going to land it. And typically from a wedge number, you're not walking up to the green. But he had that much time to do that. So as mentally strong as he is, I'm sure that didn't bother him a ton. And obviously the adrenaline's flowing, but I certainly get where you're coming from there. He just was not very good on that one hole, and that probably cost him the golf tournament. Historically, 13's the first or second easiest hole in the course, and he played it over par for the week.
He wasn't really good on that. I get that. I just know, I think he's kind of a quick type of player. And I would have loved to be honest, after today, I would have loved to see him and Justin Rose play together.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just, both their playing partners, Jason Day kind of fell away, and obviously Lee fell away. And I know they stopped showing Cameron Young, but he didn't have a terrible day.
Mm-hmm. As a fan, it was disappointing to see what Burns and Shane Lowry did today. They weren't even showing him after 5 holes. I was pretty confident in those guys showing up. But I'll just say this. I truly felt like Rory didn't really win the golf tournament. I thought Justin Rose gave it away. When Justin Rose took a 2-shot lead, made par on 10, which is one of the hardest holes on the golf course, and then played really sloppy the next 3 holes. He hit a really bad iron shot on 11, made bogey, chunked a chip on 12, and actually made a really good bogey putt, and then hit a great shot into 13 and 3-putted from 25 feet for par. That right there lost him the golf tournament, and that let Rory back in it. Now, Rory did play really well after number 6. I think he was 4 under, and then obviously he bogeyed 18, but he had some shots to play with. But I felt like Justin Rose was in control of the golf tournament, and he is typically a really good closer, especially after watching last year. It seemed like he birdied every hole coming down the stretch. I would have loved to see what would have happened if Justin Rose kind of kept his foot down, and I think Rory plays his best when he's a little bit aggressive. I certainly think it would have been a shootout down the stretch.
Or how about this? Even if Scheffler or Scheffler hadn't had such a bad second round. You think about this. This guy was 12 back after after 36 holes, 12 back, and he comes back to finish second at 11 under.
And he had every chance in the world as well. He stayed at 9 under pretty much all day, and for about 6 straight holes, he had one bad shot on every hole.
He made 0 birdies on the back 9 par 5s until number 15 today. And the birdie he made on 15 was, I don't know how. He clipped that tree on the punch shot, and then he kind of hit this like low cut underneath the tree and made like a 30-footer. So it was almost a miraculous birdie. The way he played the par 5s on the back 9s is what cost him. And he kind of referred to it. And after his round today, the 74 that he had in the second round when the scores were pretty low, Rory shot 65 that day. That cost him the tournament. And being 12 shots back is just not. 8 shots is the most ever after 36 holes. He about did it, but ultimately came up a little bit short.
I'll tell you what, though, for the rest of the golfers, I think how Scheffler played the last 2 days, even though he had some misses after the 3 weeks off and everything. I said earlier, I think people are going to have to be looking. I think he would have to be considered one of the favorites to win the U.S. Open in June.
And we will continue to talk about it here on the Central Indiana Sports Report on the Golf Report. Thank you so much for all you've done this week, guys, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Thanks so much to Griffin and Michelle for joining me all week to talk some Masters. And we're going to talk later this week with Griffin and see how he wants to go forward here with the Golf Report. Hopefully he's on board. Hopefully he's on board full time, and he's also said he'd like to talk some other stuff. So looking forward to that because he was great on this Masters coverage all week. Thanks to Michelle as well. Thank you for listening. Always appreciate it. Please do us a huge favor and share this podcast with a golf fan in your life and help us spread the word that the Central Indiana Sports Report is out here talking about what Central Indiana sports fans are talking about every single day. Oh, one more thing. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.